Hey everyone, today I want to show you guys how we use a two vice workflow with a part where it's flipped over into the second vice in SoftJaws. Let's get started. So here I have my two vices, and what I've done initially is I have two duplicate vices, one with kind of like a Talon type grip, and then I've actually removed those jaws and created my own jaw right here where it says SoftJaws. You'll notice it's a single body, so I don't have two unique jaws here, and the reason for that is because when we send this to Toolpath, Toolpath wants a single body to program from. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to take our part and drop it into our stock. And I've created over here a component called stock. It's joined to the fixed jaw right now. And I've placed it inside of the stock, just like that, and centered it roughly. Now, if we want to get rest machining to work perfectly, we have to take our component, right click, copy, and then paste into this top level component, like the master component right here. And we definitely want to click paste, not paste new. So once we click paste, we'll get a new version of it. And what I've done already is I've moved it over, I've rotated it, and I've got my part over here. And you'll know if you did this right because you'll see this :-1 and :-2. Those mean they are the exact copy of each other. So the next thing I did was I just created a sketch and projected my body onto the soft jaw. And I've already done this, so I'm going to finish the sketch. And I'll show you here where I did a cut extrude. And so if I hide this part here, we can see we've got a pocket where our part's going to go. So that's really about all the setup you have to do on the design side of things. Now we're going to jump into the manufacturer space and let's create our setups. So I'm going to click new setup and we're going to select our model. But the most important thing is not to click on the body. I'll show you if we click on our model body, it's going to show body here. And that works all the way until you start doing the second op and you'll get an error saying that it can't carry over the rest machining stock. So we're going to actually click off of that. We're going to go into our design tree, which is in models. We're going to open and expand everything, and we're going to find our first part. So we're going to click on that. And that is a component that has been selected. And for our stock, we're actually going to select from solid because I've already set up my stock and click my stock component. You can also pick the body here as well. And for the work coordinate system, if I go back to setup, I'm just going to set this as a selected point. And this will be my selected point because I've probed off of that. The last thing you want to do is select your fixture. And I can do that by clicking these here. Let's click OK. So that's op 1 done, or setup 1 done. Now we just need to create setup 2. So I'll click new setup and we'll select our model. But this time we're going to make sure to select the :2, which is our duplicate copy, but it's the component. And for stock, we'll click from preceding setup. If that's not already selected, just make sure you get it down here. And then continue rest machining. And what this is going to do is it's going to carry the stock over from setup 1 to setup 2. The last thing I'll do is just select my fixtures again. And it doesn't hurt to select the soft jaw as my fixture too, so I'm not going to cut more into it. Make sure your radial and axial clearance are pretty small here. I've saved 10 thou as my default, but Fusion does default to like 5 millimeters, which you may get some weird toolpaths where it's kind of staying really far away from the jaws. So make sure you set that correctly. The last thing I want to do is set my work coordinate system, selected point, and come off of the same work coordinate system that I used in my setup 1. Now let's click OK. Great. Now we're ready to send this to Toolpath. And let's go to our Toolpath add-in, click Send Part to Toolpath. We do have the option to just send the model body, but because we spent the time to create the setups, we want to send the existing setups. Setup 1 and setup 2 are selected, and we'll click OK. This is going to open in Toolpath, and we'll let that process. Now, while that analyzes a part, let's actually jump back into Fusion and create our soft draw setup. So I'm going to click New Setup, and this time we're just going to create the soft draw. So we don't care about the part. So for the model, we're actually going to click the soft draw body, and then for stock, let's just do relative size box, and we're going to have, you can either zero these out or just say no additional stock. There we go. The last thing I like to do is set my work coordinate system, again, from selected point, which will be this point here. And for my fixture, I'll select my Vises. Click OK. Great. So this is our soft draw setup. I'll call this soft draws just so we don't forget. And I like to also throw this kind of in the front here, just so I know that that's kind of my first setup. Okay, let's just send our soft draw setup to Toolpath now. So send parts to Toolpath, just the soft draw setup, and click OK. Again, this is going to open in Toolpath in a different instance. So while that loads, let's go check on our other part. We'll jump into projects. You can see our soft draw is loading here, and our part is loaded fully here. We get a 100% machinability score. We can look at the setups, show machining directions, and it is using our stock that we sent from Fusion. So you can see that there. If we look at the strategy, we can even see kind of what's going to happen before it even goes to Fusion. Let's click Export to Fusion, jump back into Fusion, we'll click OK. And all I have to do now is import into current document. So keep an eye on setup 1 and setup 2. Those are going to auto-populate with our toolpaths. Import to current document, and let's take a look at those setups. So let's expand setup 1 and setup 2. And just kind of clicking through these, we can see adaptive clearing, some boring operations, and the part being machined. Now if we jump over to setup 2, we'll see the part gets flipped over and it carries the rest machining stock. So Toolpath knows to only remove that stock. So there's adaptive clearing. Then we've got some scallops. I should have changed my step overs here for my scalloping pass. You know, we've got some big cusp height there, but that's just a simple change that can be made. And then some adaptive clearing. Okay, not too bad. Now let's dump our soft draw toolpaths into our soft draw. First, let's go back to Toolpath and see how it did. So if we go to projects, we'll go to our soft draw example. Now we do get a score of 77%, and the reason for that is because we told Toolpath that it can only look at the part from one direction, and we're only trying to machine this pocket here. If we look at our setups, we only have one setup, and then the tools required, a 1/2 inch flat end mill, and this is kind of interesting. So it is trying to machine the perimeter. It knows it can use a shorter 1/2 inch end mill to remove the features like the pocket and the face, but then it does have to pull out a longer tool for the profile. Now we're just going to delete that profile when we get into Fusion, but just wanted to show that. Let's click Export to Fusion, jump into Fusion, and let's just keep an eye on this soft draw here. I'm going to import to current document. Let's expand our soft draw and make sure it's activated. And if I zoom in here, I can see I have adaptive clearing, then some facing if you want to face your soft draws, 2D pocket, an empty adaptive clearing. I'll have to look into that, and then the 2D contour. And this is really important. We don't want that 2D contour, so let's just go ahead and delete that. And it looks like this adaptive clearing isn't actually very useful at all, so we're going to delete that too. But there, we've got our soft draws programmed and our setup 1 and setup 2 all ready to go. So this is how you use that workflow for setup 1, setup 2, and soft draws in Fusion with the help of Toolpath. I hope this helps. Thanks.